everything you're logged into there.
Oh, wait a minute. How about that?
Just black now.
There we go.
Okay, perfect.
Hello again, everyone. This is Ken Kibler, Director of Client Profitability with eTruckBiz. We are just a few minutes shy of the top of the hour before we get going on this week's topics. Once again, we will review volume and then start to focus on increased revenue in your operation from Network 2.0. So if everybody could sit tight for a few minutes, we'll get going just after the top of the hour. Thank you. All righty, it looks like the attendee list has leveled off. I want to thank everybody for joining us today as we cover some of our normal topics and then move into some more of our series on the Network 2.0. As usual, please hold your questions to the end, or put them, not hold them to the end, put them in the Q&A or the chat so we can get to those and bring that. And Jeff, I'll handle this one today. And we will start with the normal eTruckBiz is not endorsed, sponsored, approved, or otherwise affiliated with FedEx Ground. We just call them as we see them. So without further ado, I will turn this over to Jeff.
All right. So we're going to do something a little different this week on looking at the volume trends. We want to look at what a lot of people think a barometer is for the transportation industry. So there's two things, actually. There's container volume. A lot of people look at that, and that's actually ocean ships that are moving containers overseas, a lot of it coming in from China, but other places. And then another thing people look at to determine, even in the medium to short term, as far as economic activity, is they look at the railroad volume. So as we're about to see here in a second, railroad volume is up, first time in a couple years here. And thanks to our friends at Susquehanna for sharing a little bit of this information with us. So as you can see here, kind of tough to pick out of here, but there's this week 9, what they call the rail report. This week, or last week actually, or week 9, rail volumes were up 7% year over year. They haven't seen that. Railroads haven't seen that for a long time. Compared to a 4-week trend of 6% quarter to date, compared to a 4-week trend of 6%, quarter to date trend of 1%, and year to date trend of 1%. So, however you look at it, looks like rail volume is starting to pick up a little. Now, not tons, but better than going down. So what does that mean for CSP volume trends? Not too much yet, but hopefully there's something out there. So look at the pickup stops. That's actually really good. Bouncing off that trend line a little bit at least. That's good. And pickup packages. Same thing there. Not huge, but at least up a smidge. Up good, down bad. And over on the delivery side, week 10, the volume's it's wanting to come back to the trend line. That's good. That's better. Same thing with packages. Packages, just about on that delivery trend line or delivery package trend line. So that's actually a very good thing too. So while we're not back to peak volumes or anything like that, at least for the short term, it looks like the downward trend is at least stopping, if nothing else. All right, and we look at productivity. As you guys know, we're very worried about this, and we're still very worried about this. And though productivity week 10, so it looks like routes dispatched kind of took a little bit of an upward trend, but if you look at the stops per dispatch, that's good. That's made its way back to the trend line.
That's
So,
outstanding. 'Cause
hope,
that,
yeah.
just you know, Jeff's concerned about this. We're concerned about this because productivity means stops per dispatch. Stops per dispatch means money in your trucks and on your trucks, and that's what's going to improve everybody's profitability and margins. So, sorry about that, Jeff.
Oh, no, that's good. Yeah, I know some of you out there say, well, why do you guys watch this? Well, believe it or not, this is what Ken just said. It's at the core of your business, right? The business part of your business, not necessarily just getting the packages delivered. Okay, so, like I said, yeah, finally. All right, so currently, despite what you've heard out there, this is one of the greatest times in history. One person says, yeah, the economy's doing fantastic. Look at the economy's growing. Everything's great. Nothing to be worried about here. And then you look at other reports and stuff saying, no, things are bad. I don't think we have to try to gaslight or paint a picture. You guys, you know where it's been. So CSPs are still feeling the effects of let's just call it a shaky economy. I don't know. Is it doing better? Doing worse? Probably. Shaky. Okay, we'll give you that. And questionable, what we'll call self-negotiated contracts. So a lot of folks find eTruckBiz when they're having some sort of difficulty. Right? There's a lot of different difficulties, a lot of things that can happen, but especially when folks are looking at, how am I going to pay my bills? It starts with a lot of things, but one of the things it starts with is a lot of folks are trying to negotiate their contracts themselves. Those of you that have been around for a long time, been around us at least for a long time, we will absolutely tell you that do not do that. Why would you negotiate your contract yourself? Well, because this and that, and that. We hear all the different excuses and reasons, but when people call us with financial troubles, and one of the things we do when we look into it, try to find the root cause, is we'll find that there's something wrong with their contract, not maximizing the contract to match the work area. There's a lot of things that go into it. So those couple things, the contract maybe not being maximized like it should, the economy, good or bad, those things on their own are eroding CSP financial margins. And there's no doubt about that. That is actually happening. And we don't have to tell you guys that. You know it's happening. You see it happening in front of you. There's a lot of reasons why. I'm going to talk about one here in a minute, but that's what's going on right now, right? And then for the past, month, 2 months, we saw what? We saw the volume drift lower. That wasn't too good, right? So that resulted, and again, most CSPs are struggling to pay their bills. So question is, so even though we've just seen a recent little bit array of good news, that was no huge spike in volume, that's for sure. At least it's just kind of coming back to the trend lines. So we've seen a recent ray of hope. Is there any reason to be hopeful? Another thing when people call us these days, with, hey, I need you to help me figure out why I can't make any money. And of course, FedEx sucks, but what can I do about this, right? Is there any hope? Well, there's a lot of things you can do, that's for sure. But a reason to be hopeful is there is something coming, right? We talk about it all the time on our calls here, but Network 2.0 is on the horizon, coming on down the road. Now, why is there hope? Okay, we can tell you that all of the folks that have seen the increase in volume or their express volume, their volume going up because of express coming into their ground operation, most are seeing anywhere between a 20 and 25% increase in stops and packages. Okay, that's good. Well, is that all of it? No, that's not all of it. That was just the first wave, or they're testing things out. Last week we talked about how the test has been laid for a little while. But the folks that are seeing it are seeing 20 to 25% increase, right? So for the average business, and we'll call the average business about $1.2 million in revenue a year. So I know some of you are not anywhere near that. Some of you are well in excess of that, but let's just call the average of 1.2 million a year. That's going to mean is about another $5,000 a week revenue. Look at that. $5,000 a week revenue. So if you're operating 5 days, another $1,000 a day. That increase in revenue, or increase in stops and packages. 6 days, it's $833 per day. 7 days, that's $715 per day. Increase in settlement. All right, the question is, do you think that will help? Do you think that will help?
Absolutely.
It can and will if we handle the increase in revenue without giving it away. All about expenses. You're going to hear us talk about probably today, forever and ever and ever and ever, something called cost control. When we were with FedEx, we had one of the things that we had to learn, just like breathing, was what about cost control? We had to control our costs. We had a lot of things we were responsible for, but we had to make sure that we controlled our costs. A CSP business, a contractor, in this environment, again, we've said it before, you don't have to worry about sales. You don't have to make sure your salespeople are selling stuff. You don't have to worry about marketing. People are buying shipping services all the time. Those two things are not anything you have to be concerned about. You don't have to be concerned about collecting money. There's a whole lot of things that you don't have to worry about operating these businesses. I know there's a lot to worry about. One of the things that you have to worry about is something called cost control. That's your business, is controlling your costs. Which, as we just said, we'll be focused on this particular topic the rest of the year. So there have been some folks that have already seen this revenue, these packages and stops. And I don't know, Ken, if you got anything to show or you just want to talk about it, but there are stories from folks that have already blazed this trail.
Yes, I can show. I've got an example of just the volume. It's going to be hard to kind of match up the revenue, and you'll see it only looks like a 5% increase, but we're going to be comparing. We're going to be comparing different times of the year. So you can see this is a customer prior to getting express packages. This is a 4-week time period in late October, in October through the first week of November, where volume is naturally wrapping up. They averaged 1,146 stops a day, 2,516 stops for the week. Remember, this is leading up to peak. Come over here to February into the first week of March, normally a very light time period. You can see we're up to 29,042, 1,263 stops per week or per day. So you can see this just during kind of apples to oranges comparison, it is still an increase of 5.5%. So it is significant. We went
But
back.
Ken, that's as the whole company's volume dropped out.
Correct.
So percent.
Yeah. So the whole company volume is dropping significantly. And now, but this guy is still showing a 5.5% increase over his volume at the end of October to February. Think about it. February, you got maybe 2 days in February where you're busy with Valentine's Day. Other than that, it's extremely light. So you could see significant increase. If we come back over here, and you can kind of watch the stops build on our total stops right here, 1,000, basically 7115. This was at the beginning of November, 6657 at the end of October, 6999, 6745. If I extend this just 1 week, when we go into when it really started to hit, come here, move this just a little bit, you'll get to see this volume really start to ramp up. Okay. All the way up to 7,600, almost 8,700. And I think this week is when they started to get the express packages into the network. So almost 8,700 stops. So you could see where they were and how quickly it ramped up. So we went from 6657 right here all the way up to almost 8,700 stops in a week. That's what the express volume will do to your operation. As Jeff said, in a $1.2 million business, it's going to add $5,000 worth of revenue to your operation. Okay, what happens there is Jeff talked about cost control. Will you have to add any managers? Probably not. I don't see why. They will not. You will not have to add managers. Fuel, will you add any more routes? Hopefully not, but if you do, a little bit more in fuel, but not significantly. All your administration fees will stay the same. Your insurance is going to stay the same. So all of that money should drop to the bottom line if you can control your biggest cost, which is labor. So anything else you wanted to see on this, Jeff? And did I show it clear enough?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think the point, we just wanted to make one simple point today. We didn't want to go into tons and tons of detail. But the point is, if and when you get express volume, and by the way, everybody's got a little bit of it right now. Got some of the three express saver stuff and stuff like that. It's not real predominant. You have a little bit of it now. When it really starts coming over, it's going to make a huge impact on your operation. So what we think we have to do is we have to help you, help yourself control your costs. And one of the things that Ken was going to tell us about, maybe still going to tell us about it, is just because you're getting, what we do at Peak is what? They tell us for 9 months, look out, here comes the volume. So people go rent trucks, they hire folks. FedEx doesn't care because it's not their cost, but they're asking you to increase your costs so that you can handle the volume, which, okay, for a brief period of time, that's fine. But here, when this volume comes over, it's going to come down to your ability, our ability to help you, and your ability to make sure that we're not adding resources disproportionately to the volume that's coming over. Yes, there are different characteristics to the stops, different characteristics of the packages. You've got to get them there on time. It's different, a lot of different things, and we've been singing that song for months now. A lot of different things are going to happen, but it doesn't mean to just start throwing resources at the problem. I don't know, Ken, if you got a couple stories about folks doing that already.
Yeah, we've seen different customers handle this in different ways. And you could see this customer, their stops per dispatch were 121 stops per dispatch. I can tell you 6 months before this customer stops per dispatch were about 80. Now he made some really, really good gains with his drivers, convinced them that, you know what, you're going to have to be on the road past 11:30, 12:30, 2:30. So he made those gains, and he went at it right. Now still has some tight windows, probably running an extra truck, and he's doing it for the whole day. Could he possibly just add an extra truck in the morning, pay somebody by the hour, and pull that truck off the road? And and we hear the excuse, well, I'm getting charged for the dispatch anyhow, so that's going to affect my metals. Well, metals don't pay the bills. What pays the bills is if I pay somebody $20 an hour for 4 hours, I got $80 involved with them. Yes, I got the other cost of the fuel and that, but I only got $80. And they work 4 hours. And you'll find people that just want to work 4 hours a day. They can go out and do the job and can help you with those crunch time definites where they're on the road from, maybe they work from 8:30 to 12:30. And they're going to be able to help you out rather than working somebody 8:30 to 5:30 where they're going to cost you $160. And guess what? You're getting charged for the dispatch anyhow. Why don't I still make a little bit of money? Other people have added some APS drivers for this. Does that make sense? Once again, you're probably paying an APS driver either hourly or per stop, and you might be putting 3, 4, 5 of them out there. Once again, when your drivers could absorb it, when quite frankly, you only needed to add half a driver. Is that kind of what you were looking for, Jeff? But we've seen it all. Like I said, and I can tell you, this station is as pinched on their 1030s windows as anybody can be. They're lucky to dispatch by 9:30. When they dispatch at 9:30, they leave the building and they sit at a traffic light for 15 minutes. So quite frankly, they at best they're hitting their area at 10 o'clock. They've got basically 30 minutes to get those 1030s off. So
Actually,
go ahead.
And that's the thing, Ken. So as the picture starts getting clearer, as you get these time definites into your operation, there's a traffic light for 15 minutes, or the average documented dispatch time is 9:30, or whatever the circumstance is. Those are the folks. There's a lot of things there. You still have to get the service, but if that's something that if things happen where you have to put resources into it, because it's a hear this too. Well, I had to do this because of this. I had to do that. If you do have to do stuff like that, those are the things that we need to renegotiate that contract. Right? If there's something beyond your control that you have to put extra resources on the road before out of the ordinary, let's put it that way. There's a to me, I don't know, you can ask Carrie, but to me that looks like we can ask to renegotiate that contract.
Can I add to that?
Right.
Because in fact, this guy was going through that. The negotiator did not understand their dispatch time. He really didn't. He thought they were getting on the road at 9 o'clock. Well, they were getting out at 9:30. And so he had to explain to the negotiator, listen, I'm hitting the area at 10 o'clock. How many stops do you think each driver could get off? So they did the math and they realized he definitely needed that extra dispatch. Still didn't quite get it right, got the station involved, and quite frankly, the station showed the negotiator that quite frankly, they're getting out at 9:45, not even 9:30. So that cleared it up, and that extra 15 minutes when you're running 14 routes, guess what? I need an extra route. And it was justified. And we worked through these with the negotiation, and they still haven't come back yet and finalized the contract, but it is that they ended up getting a senior manager involved, as well as last mile has actually come to the station to help work with the contractors, because they know they've got a problem with the settlement, but they want to get it right. I mean, FedEx could have just ignored it, put their hands over their eyes and their ears and ignored it, but they didn't. They sent first mile people out to this station to help solve the problem. One of the other things you'll see here, this was the first day of December, 111 stops. We come back down, move even closer, where the guy ended up at 122 stops per driver day. So the productivity, here you go, 129 on one day. These are just 2 Fridays, 2 weeks apart. If you notice the hours before, they were under 5. Wow, they went up to 6.63, and he's at 129 stops per driver day. There's your revenue.
That's how you make money.
Yep. Right here. I got my stops per hour times that. Or stops per hour times on road are going to give me my stops per dispatch. My stops per dispatch are going to produce my revenue per dispatch. But if you put enough work on the trucks, you can make money. If the trucks aren't on the road long enough, you're not putting enough work on the trucks, and therefore you can't make money. So So this, you're gonna have the extra stops. There's no doubt they're coming. You saw the increase just on this guy's, went from 6,600 basically to 8,700 stops a week. Some of that was peaks. A lot of it was the express stops. And what happened to his productivity? He put it on the trucks and he's therefore going to make more money. Okay, so you're going to get the extra revenue. As Jeff said, what are you going to do? What are you going to control your costs? And of course, your biggest cost is your labor. Are you going to put that work on the trucks, expand their time on the road, and expand your revenue? Okay. Bob, anything to add?
Hey, yeah, along with that, your fleet, make sure your people are doing your pre-trips and post-trips. Don't make that extra money and then throw it away to the shop because your people aren't doing the oil, checking the oil, all the fluids, brakes, tires. Make sure they're checking that stuff because that, you all know, that adds up really fast. And when you have one go down, you usually have 3 or 4 go down. Then you're in rentals and there goes any of your profits.
As well as breakdowns on the road. If a guy or girl goes out, hits the road at 10 o'clock in the morning, they break down. You have zero chance of recovering that to make those 10:30 deliveries. So therefore, you're going to lose that extra revenue that way. Also in there, it becomes more important that you do have the dynamic route planning and utilize the dynamic anchors so you can move the work accordingly, especially with the number of time definite stops to get the balance on the people. So you can't have one person go out with 15 time definite stops and they only have a half hour to do it. Meanwhile, the person that drove through their area has 3 time definite stops. So the dynamic anchors will move those to make sure that it ensures service on those time definite stops. Okay. Jeff, did anything else you thought I could have shared here?
No, it's okay. We just wanted to make sure everybody knows that it looks like, and by the way, that's not all the express volume that's going to come over to ground yet. In fact, it's not even close. So just keep that in mind. Well,
correct. Yeah, this station still has part-time express drivers that are out there doing the early AMs as well as all the dangerous goods shipments. So. Oh, back to you, Jeff, if you want to take it.
if there's no question, well, oh, there's a question.
Okay.
Get that, Ken?
So I've got a couple of them. It says, being in the West, we have not seen any big stations make a transition. The stations I have seen, they took ground away from contractors and made express to ground in the cities that have transitioned. Have you seen bigger stations make the move? You want that, Jeff?
No, we haven't seen anything that you can see right now that's in a holding pattern. So no, we haven't seen any other larger stations take over any express yet, if that's the question.
Yeah, this station is probably a mid-sized station in Ohio. It's not Cleveland, it's not Columbus, but it's a mid-sized station in transition. Few hiccups, but overall pretty smooth. The station next to it had a few more hiccups, but now we haven't seen any big stations make that move yet. So, are there examples on volume increase based on just time definite additions, or does it include 2-day, 3-day express too? In the West, we have been taking 2 to 3 day express packages since October of 23. Yeah, the 2 and the 3 day, yeah, you've had those. If you utilize the driver app or even in the boss system, you'll see those time definites come through as either 1700 or 8 p.m. deliveries. Your majority of your express volume will be those evening deliveries, which is great because what's that do is add density to the PM portion of your deliveries. You do get the 1030s, smaller portion, noon, it grows a little bit, and then you see a big increase with the by 1700. And then, of course, that residential market is extremely big with the 8 p.m. day definites. So, and you said the 2 and the 3 days are included in that day definite. So you've got multiple products that have a 1700 and an 8 p.m. time compared to just the one product, the AM by 1030, and then you actually have 2 products, the AM by noon and the second day by noon fall into that noon delivery. So you will see a much, much larger increase in your 1700s and your 8 p.m. deliveries. Anything to add to that, Jeff?
Well, I think if I understood the question, but you're gonna see more than, I don't know if you just said this, Ken, but you're gonna see more than the 2 and 3 days that you've already seen. So when Ken showed you that increase in volume, that operation already had the 2 and 3 days.
Correct.
Now the question is, are there more 2 and 3 days that you get? I don't know. I don't know if anybody knows that right now.
What is the
There's
lead
more
time?
out there to get.
Yep, absolutely. What is the lead time contractors are given when express volume will be coming? Also, more information on helping with negotiating. Who do I call regarding that? You can call me as the first step. My phone number is 330-591-0655. The lead time is normally 90 days, 3 months, correct, Jeff?
Yeah, now that's normally. So there's some things going on, and don't be surprised if that 30 to 60 day time frame gets shortened up a little bit.
They've got to have the CSPs will sign NDAs. The station management will sign NDAs, and you won't be able to talk about it until it is formally announced that your station will be starting to do those deliveries, or they'll be combined. And the reason the NDAs are signed and they don't want anybody talking about it is because it will be affecting the livelihood of express drivers and express management people. With the station here, a lot of the express management people interviewed and went to work at the ground station. The drivers had the choice to, to leave, or of course they could get hired by ground drivers as well. And they were offered a severance, but it's critical that it stays under wraps so the express drivers don't leave in a mass exodus. Okay. So that appears to be all the questions. I think next week, Jeff, we're gonna focus on. It looks like we got one more question here. How late should we expect drivers on road delivering and picking up when one comes? Well, the express packages will have a cut time that they have to be back. On the station that we're reviewing here, the express packages have to be back into the building by 6:15 at night. And believe me, it's just as bad to not get an express pickup package back to the building to make it out on the plane as it is to not deliver it the next day. So it will be viewed as a failure if you do not get the express packages back to the building by whatever that cut time is. And it'll vary by proximity to the airport and by time zone. So same day call and pickups, what's the cutoff time as to when we get them? Once again, it'll vary by station. I believe this one, which is in the Eastern time zone, and an hour and 20 minutes from the airport, I think their cutoff time for the on-call pickups is 3:30. I need to verify that, but it's between 3:30 and 4. I do know that. So it will vary, like I said, by your proximity to the airport, the time zone you're in. Hearing rumors of Express taking over a station here, which makes no sense. Are they throwing rumors out there to keep Express from mass exodus? You want that one, Jeff?
We'll just say there are a lot of different things going around out there. One of the things that, if I can stress this without saying too much, if you know anybody currently at a terminal that has express volume, that they already have express volume, if you guys want to see this volume come to you, what you want, what we want, is those guys to get those packages delivered on time. We want to see their express service get to be 98.5 or better. One of the things that might be slowing everything down is not only Canada in that mess, but there is the question remains, can contractors change their business cultures so that drivers will get these packages delivered and picked up, get the packages back to the building on time, get them delivered on time? Again, it's a whole thing about time, right? It's the hour thing. You got to manage by the hour, by the minute, not necessarily, hey, just get them all done today thing. Can contractors do that? We want to see, you want to see the folks that are already doing it make that happen. The more that they can make that happen, the more likely it is that contractors will be getting a lion's share of this volume. That's all I got on that, Mr. Karen.
So we got another question here. Will FedEx offices adjust the ground pickup windows? Mine starts at 6 p.m. till 8 p.m. since we need to be back to the station by 6:15 with express packages. They're going to have to adjust because it's not going to do them any good to accept packages up to 8 p.m. if they're not going to go out that night. And once again, 6:15 is the time at this station based off of where their location is and their drive to the airport. So remember, that's going to vary by your station, but it's not going to do any good, as I said, for a FedEx office to have it allow people to ship to 8:15 if 8 o'clock if that package is not going to make service. Okay. We have heard rumors that the contract have been bought out of the Billings market. Jeff, you want that one?
Yeah, all I can tell you is something's going on there. That's all I feel good about telling you.
Yeah. Once again, see, we've gotten some rumors here. We got one Billings, and then the other question came out of Houston. As Jeff says, what can you do to make sure that you get this express volume? Is make sure you're delivering quality on-time service. Your revenue per stop has to be reasonable. It just, if people in the Houston market are around 350, I don't see how they could turn that over and make that the employee model. I just don't. Doesn't make sense. In a rural area where the average revenue per stop is $10, does the employee model make sense? I don't know yet. But those are the kind of things that FedEx are going to look at. What are they paying per stop? What is the service being provided by the contractors? We said it, what, Jeff, 3 months ago, where Wall Street was worried that the contractors would not be able to control the labor to get the drivers to do what needed to be done.
Yeah, I can tell you that's a concern. That's a concern. I keep getting questions from major publications asking if that's happening. So yeah.
Exactly. So I said, what can you do to control it? You got to have the tools in place to make sure that you ensure that your drivers can deliver those stops by 10:30. What tools are those? We think the Express Pro package is all encompassing with that. There's no doubt about it. You're being able to see from your computer dashboard, from your optics app, how many 10:30s do I have? How many noons do I have? Okay, I've got my hot sheet here. I've got 30 deliveries from 11:30 to noon that have to get done. Okay, how many does Fred have? How many does Mary have? How many does Bob have? All of that is visible in the tools provided in the Express Pro package. So highly encourage you, if you haven't talked about that, give me a call. Let's talk about it. I think it's that important. And we know it's that good of a product. Also, the routing system, it's there. The time definites are there for your drivers to see. And once again, at a tremendous price, unmatched in the industry, and the identification of the time definites is there for you to monitor the drivers to ensure success. When you ensure success, you know what? Those express packages are going to stay on your truck. So
I just
seen a lot of new.
quick.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Well, I was just going to say, I can tell you, talking to folks, that it's all about, can the contractors get time definite product service? If you can, huge. Contractors.
Yep.
Revenues will go up, values of businesses will go up, huge. So far, it's been demonstrated that it's a struggle.
Yep.
So I said, if you know somebody in those buildings,
cheer them on, get them to do it.
Number. Yeah. Well, or you know what? If you know somebody over there, tell us. Call Ken and say, hey, I know so and so over there, and he wants to talk to you about Express Pro. He wants to talk to you about re-engineering his areas. Whatever it is, we need to get those folks delivering those packages on time.
Yeah. Comment is, I've seen a lot of new trucks over at 2 different express stations, and you might. And once again, FedEx is company owned. They can move those new trucks to other areas. Once again, they're doing this for pressure. They might be doing this to keep the express drivers around. So it says, are there specific zips that do not have 10:30 deliveries? Absolutely. Once again, proximity to the airport, proximity, ability to dispatch at certain times absolutely plays in. There are not 10:30 deliveries in all of the country. There's not noon deliveries in all of the country. So it will depend and be sorted by zip code. And then if so, how do you find that out? Your station should be able to tell you that, or if you see express drivers in your zip codes, you could probably ask them as well. Okay. think we've got to the end of the questions. Once again, we'll be talking about managing the revenue and matching your expenses, cost management next week. Expanding a little bit upon just kind of the broad view we took today. And we hope to continue to build on this in a series of capturing this revenue and turning that revenue into profitability. So that plans to be our focus over the next several weeks. Jeff, anything to add?
No, sir.
Excellent. So please, I'm going to thank everybody for joining us. Please have a safe, profitable week, and we'll be back here next Tuesday again. Thank you again for your time. Bye-bye.